everyone. Happy World Book Day and welcome to The Masked Reader. In a second, I'm going to read you one of my favourite stories. While you're listening to the story, I need you to try and work out 4 things. Number 1, who am I? I'm going to give you a clue. I'm not a potato. Number 2, you need to work out what is the title of the book that I'm reading. Number 3, who is the author? So who wrote the book? Number 4, quite a tricky one. Who is the illustrator of the book I'm reading? So that means who drew the pictures. Right, are you ready? Listening carefully. Once there were 3 baby owls, Sarah and Percy and Bill. They lived in a hole in the trunk of a tree with their owl mother. The hole had twigs and leaves and owl feathers in it. It was their house. One night, they woke up and their owl mother was gone. "Where's Mummy?" asked Sarah. "Oh my goodness," said Percy. "I want my mummy," said Bill. The baby owls thought. All owls think a lot. "I think she's gone hunting," said Sarah. "To get us our food," said Percy. "I want my mummy," said Bill. But their owl mother didn't come. The baby owls came out of their house and they sat on the tree and waited. A big branch for Sarah, a small branch for Percy, and an old bit of ivy for Bill. "She'll be back," said Sarah. "Back soon," said Percy. "I want my mummy," said Bill. It was dark in the wood and they had to be brave, for things moved all around them. "She'll bring us mice and things that are nice," said Sarah. "I suppose so," said Percy. "I want my mummy," said Bill. They sat and they thought. All owls think a lot. "I think we should all sit on my branch," said Sarah. And they did, all 3 together. "Suppose she got lost," said Sarah. "Or a fox got her," said Percy. "I want my mummy," said Bill. And the baby owls closed their owl eyes and wished their owl mother would come. And she came. Soft and silent, she swooped through the trees to Sarah and Percy and Bill. "Mummy!" they cried, and they flapped and they danced and they bounced up and down on their branch. "What's all the fuss?" their owl mother asked. "You knew I'd come back." The baby owls thought. All owls think a lot. "I knew it," said Sarah. "And I knew it," said Percy. "I love my mummy," said Bill. There you go. I hope you enjoyed the story. So remember, you've got 4 things now that you need to try and work out. Number 1, who am I? Number 2, what was the title of the book that I was reading? Number 3, who was the author? And number 4, who was the illustrator? Happy World Book Day. Bye.
Hello, children. Here's my story. The barn was pleasantly warm in winter when the animals spent most of their time indoors, and it was pleasantly cool in summer when the big door stood open, wide open to the breeze. The barn had stalls on the main floor for the workhorses, tie-ups on the main floor for the cows, a sheepfold down below for the sheep, a pig pen down below for Wilbur. And it was full of all sorts of things that you find in barns. Ladders, grindstones, pitchforks, monkey wrenches, scythes, lawnmowers, snow shovels, axe handles, milk pails, water buckets, empty grain sacks, and rusty rat traps. It was the kind of barn that swallows like to build their nests in. It was the kind of barn that children like to play in. And the whole thing was owned by Fern's uncle, Mr. Homer L. Zuckerman.
Happy World Book Day, everyone. Please get comfortable. I'm about to read you a very small bit of a story, and you'll realise quickly why it's only a very small part of the story. You may be able to finish my final sentence, which will give you quite a large clue to what the actual book is. So you have to guess 4 things. What's the title of the book? Who wrote the book? Who illustrated the book? And of course, who am I? Ready? Listen carefully. But who is this creature with terrible claws and terrible teeth in his terrible jaws? He has knobbly knees and turned out toes and a poisonous wart at the end of his nose. His eyes are orange and his tongue is black. He has purple prickles all over his back. Oh, help! Oh, no! It's a... And I'll stop there. You may be able to guess what the title of the book is from that. Enjoy!
Hi, children. Welcome to World Book Day. Today I'm going to read you a story, but while I'm reading, you have to think, who am I? What is the title of the book? And who is the author? Off we go. Mr. Wonka was standing all alone just inside the open gates of the factory. And what an extraordinary little man he was. He had a black top hat on his head. He wore a tailcoat made of beautiful plum-coloured velvet. His trousers were bottle green. His gloves were pearly grey. And in one hand he carried a fine gold-topped walking cane. Covering his chin, there was a small, neat, pointed black beard, a goatee, and his eyes were the most marvellously bright. They seemed to be sparkling and twinkling at you all the time. The whole face, in fact, was alight with fun and laughter. And oh, how clever he looked, how quick and sharp and full of life. He kept making quick, jerky little movements with his head, cocking it this way and that, and taking everything in with those bright, twinkling eyes. He was like a squirrel in the quickness of his movements, like a quick, clever old squirrel from the park. Suddenly, he did a funny little skipping dance in the snow, and he spread his arms wide, and he smiled at the 5 children who were clustered near the gates, and he called out, "Welcome, my little friends! Welcome to the factory!" His voice was high and fluty. "Will you come forward one at a time, please?" he called out, "and bring your parents. Then show me your golden ticket. Give me your name. Who's first?" A big boy stepped up. "I'm Augustus Gloop," he said. "Augustus!" cried Mr. Wonka, seizing his hand and pumping it up and down with fierce force. "My dear boy, how good to see you! Delighted, charmed, overjoyed you have come with us. And these are your parents? How nice! Come in, that's right. Step through the gates." Mr. Wonka was clearly just as excited as everybody else. "My name," said the next child to go forward, "is Veruca Salt." "My dear Veruca, how do you do? What a pleasure this is. You do have an interesting name, don't you? I always thought that a verruca was a sort of wart." that you got on the side of your foot. But I must be wrong, mustn't I? How pretty you look in that lovely mink coat. I'm so glad you could come. Dear me, this is going to be such an exciting day. I do hope you will enjoy it. I'm sure you will. I know you will. Your father, how are you, Mr. Salt? And Mrs. Salt? Overjoyed to see you. Yes, the ticket is quite in order. Please go in. The next two children, Violet Beauregard and Mike TV, came forward to have their tickets examined, and then to have their arms practically pumped off their shoulders by the energetic Mr. Wonka. And last of all, a small, nervous boy whispered, "Charlie Bucket." "Charlie!" cried Mr. Wonka. "Well, well, well, so there you are. You are the one who found your ticket only yesterday, aren't you?" "Yes, yes, I read all about it in the morning papers. Just in time, my dear boy. I'm so glad, so happy for you. Your grandfather delighted to meet you, enchanted." Oh, 5 children. "Will you follow me, please? The tour is together. Please don't wander off one." At this stage of the proceedings, Charlie glanced back. Iron entrance gates, slowly closed on the outside, were still pushing. Look at them. Then the gates closed all sight of the outside. So, have a think of the story I just read. And who? I'm guessing, and happy World Book Day.
This is how the story begins. On a dark, dark hill, there was a dark, dark town. And in the dark, dark town, there was a dark, dark street. And in the dark, dark street, there was a dark, dark house. In the dark, dark house, there was a dark, dark staircase. Down the dark, dark staircase, there was a dark, dark cellar. And in the dark, dark cellar lived some skeletons. There was a big skeleton, and a small skeleton, and a dog skeleton. One night, the big skeleton sat up in bed and scratched his head. "What shall we do tonight?" he said. "Let's take the dog for a walk," said the small skeleton, "and frighten everyone." "Good idea," said the big skeleton. So the big skeleton and the small skeleton and the dog skeleton left the dark, dark cellar and climbed the dark, dark staircase and stepped into the dark, dark street. They walked past the dark, dark houses and the shops. They walked past the zoo and the police station, and then they went into the park. I'm going to stop here. Can you guess who I am? Can you guess the author of this book? Can you guess the title? And can you guess the genre? Bye everyone.